So this last week, Penn, folks, this is going to be very disturbing. Rob, if you can pull up that one clip. So you got the president of Harvard, you got the president of MIT, you got the president of Penn being grilled here, and look at their answers and their response. And afterwards, I'm going to tell you what happened with Bill Ackman. Some people pulling $100 million out. But first, take a look at this clip. Go ahead, Rob.
Dr. Kornbluth, at MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
Yes or no? Calling for the genocide of Jews does not constitute bullying and harassment?
I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
So those would not be according to the MIT's code of conduct or rules?
That would be investigated as harassment if pervasive and severe.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment.
Watch
yes.
this.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of
Watch
Jews.
this.
Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it
Watch this.
is, if the
Yes
speech
or no?
becomes, if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide?
That is the dumbest thing.
The speech is not harassment. This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals.
Can you believe
Do you
that?
understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of anti-Semitism? I will ask you one more time.
She's giving her a chance.
Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric. When it
And is it
crosses into
anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again,
Why is it so
depends
hard?
on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
First of all, you see this. This is like by far the worst commercial one could play. Tom, as a parent, you know a lot of these schools. You know their numbers. You know where they're at. You know what they're doing. One, what is your reaction when you see what they're saying is number two? What do you think the consequences are going to be of this?
So I'll take it down 3 levels. Level number 1, Penn was on the short list for my daughter, the very short list. Penn at Wharton has a great undergrad program where you can also be across campus with an American history degree. And then Bailey wants to go get her MBA. What better place than one of the finest business schools, Wharton, in the U.S.? And we took it off the list. And when we saw what happened over the last year and a half.
And by the way, for some people that are watching saying, what do you think you're going to take it off the list? Who do you think you are? His daughter got 1560 on her SATs out of 1600. Yeah. Trust me, this is a very qualified kid, girl, young lady that's got a 4.6 GPA, incredible citizen, incredible at what she does. and she was somebody that could get into Penn. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah,
Go
and
for it.
she was also editor of the yearbook and dedicated herself to making sure that the pages of the yearbook showed everybody and included everybody, not just your own picture as a student in 11th grade, 12th grade or whatever, but that you were represented beyond your sport, beyond your yearbook picture. So Bailey's very committed to the inclusive nature, in modern society and ensuring people are there. But we said no. So the first level is, as a parent, I'm now glad that, she's not, on her way or in consideration there. But the second point was, you have to understand why I sat back at this last night and I looked into it and I said, why didn't they say yes? Because if they said yes, they have to go back to the campus where they've had Palestinian protests for the better part of a month, and they got to go back and do something about it.
That's right.
They were going to have to go back and do something, and they are coached. These are lawyers. These are lawyers by trade, and they were sitting there. If you're asked about that, if you say yes, we have to come back and take action against all of a month of protest.
Yeah, filibuster.
Maybe we would have to suspend a club's ability to gather on campus. Maybe we'd have to kick them off campus, saying, hey, your club is full of hate speech. You have to kick them off campus. And so I think they were worried about answering it that way. The next thing that happened is they forgot where the real power is. The power at Penn is not in the wallets of the art history students. The power at Penn is the major donors to the Wharton Business School that rolls up to Penn.
Yeah, the power of the pen cutting the checks, you mean. Yeah.
Thank you. Exactly right. I'm not laughing at but you make a very ironic and correct point, Adam. That's where it is. So that's my response. They couldn't answer the question in a certain way because it would have caused them to have to go home and take action. Mm-hmm. Well, now they may have to go home and take action because there are Israeli demonstrations planned today, this afternoon, on Harvard Yard. And if you don't think that those organizations that were pro-Palestinian are going to be marching on Harvard Yard, I think we're going to see it come to a head. But these leaders put themselves in horrible positions. They were checkmated because if they answer it one way, Earth collapses on their head. Exhibit A. And if they answer it the other way, they got to go home and clean up what they've been allowing in terms of anti-Semitic rhetoric for the past 2 months, not 2 months, but since October 7th.
Well, that's been over 2 months, and I know you're about to say something. Yeah. So basically, they wouldn't answer, Tom. But what they were saying is basically MIT and Harvard and all these that you can scream out loud, we hate Jews, Jews die and everything. Just as long as it's not pointed at one person, they can't call it hate speech. And let's not forget, Sally Kornbluth from MIT, you know what she is, right? She's Jewish. How is she sitting there as a Jewish woman and not being able to answer that being openly anti-Semitic isn't bullying or harassment or anti-Semitic? That's unbelievable.
What do you think happens if that congresswoman was a person of color and was asking, would calling for the genocide of African Americans, Hispanic Americans, pick your list, constitute bullying, racism, and be unacceptable according to your standards of conduct and call for action? They would have said, absolutely, Congresswoman, absolutely.
Of course.
So we had an insurance meeting this last week, and one of the very, very powerful executive in the insurance industry. He's a president. He does very well. He's known. He's gone to Penn. And he's a Jew, but he's also a Democrat. Okay, and he comes and starts talking with me. I love this guy, and we started having a conversation with him. When we see each other, we say, "I love you, like it's brothers."
Yeah.
Okay, he's one of those guys.
Really?
And he says, "I got to tell you, man. One of the things I'm having a very hard time with right now as a Democrat. He just openly talks. It's just him and I." He said, I'm having a very hard time with the fact that how are Democrats not understanding? He says, as a guy that went to these schools, how are they understanding? You cannot allow this anti-Semitism to be taking place on school campuses. He says, that's causing some of my friends who are liberals to leave the way they're voting.
Yep.
Weird. Let me explain to you how weird this is. 1960, 64% of African Americans vote Democrat. 36% pretty much vote conservative.
60s, you said.
1960.
Got you.
So what happens in 1960 to 1964? Barry Goldwater does his deal. Mm-hmm. Democrats are able to convince African Americans that Democrats were African Americans, not Republicans. It goes from 1960 where only 64% voted Democrat, to 92%. From 1964 till today, blacks have voted Democrat 88 to 94% is what they voted. So some elections 94% Democrat, 88%, 92%, 90%, but that's been the number. This incident here could cause some of the most powerful Jews in the marketplace to say, hey man, I'm not with this thing. Let me read this to you. Bill Ackman, okay? Bill Ackman, who went to Harvard, okay? Billionaire Harvard guy Bill Ackman suggests Harvard president was a DEI pick. They picked this person just because of DEI, okay? So let me, okay. Billionaire Harvard graduate Bill Ackman criticized the selection of Harvard's president, implying that the diversity, equity, inclusion policies played a role, and said someone with first-person knowledge indicated that the committee would not consider the candidate who did not meet the DEI office criteria, okay? He argued against narrowing candidate pools based on race, gender, and sexual orientation criteria, stating shrinking the pool of candidates based on race, gender, or sexual orientation is not the right approach. Ackman voiced concerns over Harvard's handling of anti-Semitism, freedom of speech, and the impact of office equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, OEDIB, at university. So that's Ackman. Now, secondly, your story about a billionaire, UPenn. This is for UPenn. Donor withdraws $100 million of donation after president's congressional testimony on anti-Semitism. $100 million is $100 million. UPenn donor Ross Stevens, when you hear Ross Stevens, who pledged approximately $100 million to establish a financial innovation center, is withdrawing his donation due to concerns about the university's handling of anti-Semitism and President Liz McGill's congressional testimony on the subject, stating President McGill's December 6, 2023 post on Twitter admitted as much when she blatantly acknowledged only after her congressional testimony went viral and demands for her termination amplified that calls for genocide of the Jewish people constitute harassment and discrimination. That's when she flipped. After she almost lost her job, Stevens' attorney argued that UPenn violated its limited partnership agreement with Stone Ridge Asset Management by failing to adhere to anti-discrimination and anti-harassment rules, saying that they are appalled by the university's stance on anti-Semitism on campus.
By the way, whose rules were they? They were the ones that Congressman Stefanik was asking, President Gay if she would follow. Is this the ones that, and he's talking about the rules for Penn and McGill. This is what Congressman Stefanik was asking. Do you think, according to your own rules, and this guy's like, hey, your own rules are in this thing called a contract, and a contract for a donation, and a contract to create a financial innovation center. So he's asking the same question, and he's referencing a contract. Congressman Stefanik was asking the same question and referencing their own standards.
Well, friendly advice to anybody that's ever in testimony, in front of Congress, in front of a jury, in front of anybody, in front of
cameras,
any cameras, anytime someone asks you to make a public statement on genocide, take the other stance against genocide. No one's going to get mad at you for basically saying, I firmly stand against any calls for genocide of any people, of any minority, of any type of persuasion. Genocide is wrong. It should never be allowed. Any calls for it should be vehemently stand against. How hard is that to freaking say? Nobody will come after you and say, I am against genocide. How dumb are these fucking leaders of these major schools?
Let me ask you a question. What is the likelihood, okay, over under, what is the likelihood that those three had a conference call or a meeting and or were prepared and role-played questions that we're going to ask and how to react and how for all of them be on the same page? What is the likelihood that that took place?
I did some calculations over the weekend. I think it was 105.62%.
Of course.
105.62%. I'm going with that.
Well, how about this?
If there's anything that you were doing, it was tallying up percentages.
What is the likelihood that three presidents of three of the most prominent schools, two based in Boston, by the way, one in Penn, about an hour or two down the road, actually even knew each other before this congressional hearing. I mean, 1,000,000%. They probably have each other's numbers. They've probably been in contact.
Of course.
So the fact that they're coming into Congress right now to have this testimony, they thought, like, they're not on the surface idiots.
No, of
okay?
course not. Of course.
By the way, this was the most viewed congressional testimony in history.
Whoa.
Okay? History has spoken.
So,
Did you know that?
So they can go home and tell their family they're
Here it is right here.
Well, and Adam, while you're looking at
By
that,
the way,
cool
is
is
it
that?
really the most?
This is Wall Street Journal. The pathetic Wall Street Journal. The pathetic testimony of the Harvard, Penn, and MIT presidents have been viewed more than 1 billion times worldwide, making it the most viewed congressional testimony in history. Deservedly so, because it shocked the conscience of the world. The only acceptable consequence is that the boards immediately replace them with leaders who will restore moral clarity.
By the way,
$1 billion in a week.
if that's the number, this is by far the worst commercial a university could have had, period. The worst commercial you could have had, period. There's not a worse advertisement for universities than what just happened right now.
And Adam, because Pat, you said the Jewish donors, like they're jumping ship, right? What's the percentage? I mean, I don't know if there's a stat for Jewish people that vote Democrat, and how much do you think that's going to change that?
65%. Jews are 65%.
Do you think that's going to shift it, Adam?
It's been 2/3, 1/3. Vinny, great question.
Do you think that's going to change votes?
1,000,000%.
Fuck yeah.
There
good.
should be.
Good.
A lot of Jewish people, and a lot of people for that matter, just with a brain that's looking at whatever is going on this progressive left woke Hamas caucus. Okay?
Yeah.
That should be saying, hey, I voted this way for a while, and by the way, guilty as charged, because I was a JFK Democrat, a Bill Clinton Democrat. If you were a JFK Democrat or a Bill Clinton Democrat, you would probably be a Joe Manchin Democrat, which is pretty much a moderate Republican at this point. But if you look at the infectedness of what's going on the progressive left, it's disgusting to watch. And at the end of the day, you could look at the people on the far left and look at the people on the far right, and anybody that's far left or far right, extremism, I do not advocate that. But at the very least, you could say that the people on the far right love America. The problem with the people on the far left, they actually hate America and what America stands for. I agree. And they're trying to rewrite history in this progressive woke way. And to me, as someone that's basically been sort of politically homeless for the last handful of years, I don't know. I'm not really trying to, storm the Capitol. At the same time, I'm not trying to fight for Hamas. Where do I land here? But moral clarity is completely seen in these institutions of higher learning presidents, and they can't even take a stand against genocide. We've lost our way.
And great point, Adam. And you mentioned this a bunch of times, and this was I want to say a month, maybe 2 months ago, when I was like, Patrick, everything. How do people not see it? And you sat right here, and you said, give it time. You go, bad policies, bad ideas, bad things, they come to light. And this was one of those moments, Adam, where I went, oh, shit. I can't believe that they're saying, you can't say out loud that screaming for a whole race of people to be exterminated. You can't say that out of your mouth. Holy shit.
By the way,
lay up hands.
You know 3 out of the top 6 universities in the world with the biggest endowment are those 3.
100%.
3 out of 6. Harvard's number 1, and I think Penn and MIT are 5, 6. Harvard's got around 50 to 60 billion. The other 2 have 20 to 30 billion dollars of endowment they're sitting on. Do you know what's happened to them last 3 years? These are frauds. They told the American people they're about higher education. During COVID, kids are not going to school. They're not staying on campus. They're not going out there and eating the food. They didn't lower the money, the tuition for parents to pay by a penny. They still expected you to pay as if your kids are on campus, going to school from home on a Zoom. They said, you still have to pay the full price. Think about what a dirtbag mentality. And they're sitting on $51 billion you're sitting on.
Holy.
One, you did that. Two, your woke bullshit you're doing, your LGBT stuff that you're feeding down kids' throats, your hate of America, and then now you're showing us with this, your standards. Imagine as somebody that's raising kids saying, I want my kids to go to this school. Are you out of your flipping mind? Have you lost your mind? And we're supposed to send our kids to you to lose them? I was at Harvard in 2016 when Hillary and Trump are debating. The debate where they said, because you'd be in jail. That debate, I watched it in Harvard in their chow hall with 300 other people. Harvard's chow hall is an Asian man that paid for the restaurant where you eat the food. It's called chow, C-H-A-O. I'm sitting there. Vinny, there was not one person of the 300 people that supported Trump.
Wow.
100% of everybody who was there watching this were 100% for Hillary Clinton.
Not one person.
Not one person. Jeez. I go back the next day and I bring it up to the professors. I said, why is it all of you hate Trump? No, we don't. There's not one of you. Are you going to vote for? Oh, no, I would never vote for him. I said, I'm supposed to come to your school and every single one of you hates Trump? Is that really debate? Is that really how school's supposed to be? I said, I'm not coming back the next two because the way their OPM program works is you go one and then you go another one and you go, I said, I'm not. I said, no, you should come back. I said, I'm not coming back. To be in a what? To be in a sounding board where all you guys are sitting here and agreeing on the fact that Hillary Clinton's because what? So you know right for me? You know what's right for me, your establishment? No, I think the last few years revealed what these people stand for. And I'm telling you right now, this whole thing about we're having this conversation last night. I spoke to 4 different places last night. I finished up last. I don't know what time. I don't even know what time we got home last night, Tom.
1 a.m., 2 a.m.?
No, literally.
I saw videos of you of like 10 different locations. I'm here.
First of all, the last few weeks have been insane. But so I'm going to all these different places, and I'm sitting there talking about what decision Tom and I made. Parents, listen, parents. Academics is important. Studying and learning to do homework and all that stuff is important. Yes, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm okay with my kids not doing it. It's important. High standards is important. Is academics more important than values and principles? I don't know about that. Because to me, if somebody is a winner and they want to compete, they're going to compete. Do they need to be around other people to compete? Yes. At the cost of manipulation and brainwashing? No, I'm not good with that. Can you still create a climate for your kids to be able to debate and be around other guys where they can kind of stand up for themselves? Yes. Is there a benefit of going to a school where the school is 70% Democrats and maybe you're a conservative, but they're actually reasonable human beings? Yes, I think there's a benefit to that because your kid's going to learn how to debate. But today, that's not the case. Out of 13 professors, Rob, pull this up right now. What percentage of professors are Democrats to Republicans? For every one conservative professor is 13 Democrats.
What?
Yeah. For every one conservative professor, I'll find this article for you. It's either 13 to 1
or 12, something like
that. I'll show you. It's 13 to 1.
It's like 5%.
Professors.
Yes.
That is bananas.
13 to 1 is not in a monopoly rule. You call that. There's a 16 to 1. That one right there. Go to that one right there.
UNC.
It's 16 to 1.
How recent is that article?
How long ago is that, by the way? And I said 13 to 1. I was being friendly. That's a year ago.
That's a year ago. I remember in 2020 when we were talking about the election, it actually was
13 to
1. So it's only gone up since then.
Here we go. Business Insider. Why are so many professors Democrats? This is 2016. A college professor wrote a biting explanation why so many professors are Democrats. Out of 13 professors, 12 were Democrats. Okay, and this is 2016 when it was a 12 to 1 ratio. Now it's a 16 to 1 ratio in the same university. You're sending your kids to be baptized by these guys. It ain't even fair. It's like bullying. Imagine you're fighting with 16 other people, 13 other people. Nobody else can be in there to do that debate with you. That's the climate we have right now with some of these universities.
This is the problem with the woke DEI agenda because they're focused on race, on sex, on gender, on sexual orientation. But DEI, what I would want on campus, on institutions of higher learning, are diversity of thought, of different ideas, what we do on this show. The beauty of what PBD said, let's get a bunch of guys with different opinions, let's work this shit out. But what happens on these college campuses is they basically exclude anyone with a different thought of them. Let a Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk try to show up on campus.
Oh, forget.
Good luck, guys.
What do you mean? They don't.
Let a Hamas terrorist show up on campus. Thank you for coming, Mohammed Akhtar Abajod.
Yeah, let's show you the basement.
Come on in here. But exactly what PBD talks about, policies have consequences. So here's what's going on here. So Louis Brandeis, the Chief Justice, there's a school named after him, called Brandeis, said, what, sunlight or transparency is the best disinfectant. We are disinfecting what is happening on these woke college campuses. And Pat talks about institutions of higher education. These are institutions of higher indoctrination. And it's becoming completely obvious. So if you look at what's going on at Harvard, you mentioned this earlier, Dr. Tom Bisdock. Harvard, just this year, placed dead last among 248 universities on the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expressions college free speech rankings, receiving only a score of 0 out of 100. I don't even know what the hell that is. And you're saying that in second place, aka second to last, is Penn at 247. Correct. How do you get a score of 0 out of 100 on Harvard's Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression? But here's something for you. I don't know if you can
decades of Trump.
I don't know if you can look at this. This is on the Wall Street Journal. This is the leader, the president of
Harvard's gay.
So here's the article. Harvard bans cis heteroism, okay, heterosexism, but shrugs at anti-Semitism. So what constitutes bullying and harassment at Harvard these days? Mandatory Title IX, you've talked about this.
Yeah.
Warned that all undergraduate students are banned from cis heteroism, okay, fat phobia, using the wrong pronouns. Any of that would be called abuse and violence on campus.
Violent.
Calling someone fat. Calling someone fat.
Even worse.
Is violent.
Well, what do you?
Fat is violent, but
genocide of Jews.
Context.
Hey, look
We
the
need
other
context.
Yeah, what do you mean by genocide? What kind of
The
genocide?
worst thing for these school presidents is for the average American to know their names.
Oh,
Did any of you know any of these leaders' names
every time I kept
before
hearing
today?
gay, I was like, what?
Shit.
And by the way, now for somebody that wouldn't. By the way, I don't even know what I scored on my SATs. That's how bad it probably was. Now I'm just like, to hell, Harvard, schmarvard.
But shout out to Elise Stefanik,
I love
Republican representative from New York. I think she was the first Republican to win in her district
What is
since
she?
the
I don't know
90s.
Is she just Italian?
She's in the no. I don't even know what she is. Doesn't matter.
might be
She's just a
Italian.
person
But
with
she's stepping up.
moral clarity. Okay,
Where's she from? Early life.
she's from New York. She's a representative of New York.
She's Czech.
She held all three of these
To the fire.
leaders of the
Feet to the fire.
of the highest institutions of learning in this country. She made them look like absolute morons.
Can I ask you a question? Did the Republican side question these people as well with that much vigor?
She's the Republican.
Don't say who's the Democrat. Were there any Democrats yelling at these idiots?
There actually was.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
There actually
She's
was.
the only clip that basically I've seen. Did anybody else dig into them on the left? Like, was there any Jewish people that are in Congress that were like, yo, what are you talking about? Or did they stay quiet? You know what I mean, Pat? That's the only viral clip that I saw.
Well, where
were all the people
when
on the other
that
side?
ridiculous clip makes it to the news? It just takes all the oxygen out of the room. Nobody's focusing on anything. It's the most viewed congressional hearings ever.
And $1 billion in a week?
In a day, Vinny.
Oh my! It was a day.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.